Hi guys, it's Ariel. Whoa, there you go. Hi. Sorry, the camera started to fall. Today I'll be talking about one of the best concerts I've ever been to, and the first time I got my first in-person interview. There you go. That's what I was trying to say. Anyway, on December 1st, 2011, I went to go see Emphatic, Art of Dying, and Adelita's Way. They were in a little bar, actually. There was only 200 people there at this show. And it's still the smallest concert that was not a local show for local bands that I've been to. And it was incredible. When we went and bought the tickets, we talked to the people there about doing an interview, and they're like, yeah, you probably could just get there a few hours early. So we got there like 3, maybe 4 hours early, and the guys from Adelita's Way were doing an acoustic set for the radio station. I really wish I would have had it on because I didn't get to hear it. And the guys from Art of Dying were there. I don't know if Emphatic was there at that point. I can't remember. I think they weren't yet. I think they were late. Well, not late. They just weren't there yet. But we're sitting there, and it's like, I could see a couple of guys playing pool, and turns out it was Jeff, the drummer from Art of Dying, and somebody's sound guy. It was not their sound guy, because I didn't see him working with them. I'm pretty sure he was Emphatic's, or maybe Get Scared. Why did I say Get Scared? I don't know why I said Get Scared. Or Adelita's Plays. And I felt like I was bothering them because Mom was like, you should go over there and talk to them, ask about your interview. I'm like, this is their downtime. I don't want to bother them. It's just, I don't know. I didn't feel like it. So my mom all of a sudden gets up and walks over there, and it's like, hi, introduces herself and mentions what I do and that I wanted an interview, and asked if it was okay if I would be actually bothering them if I'd walk up to them. And Jeff was like, no, not at all. She can come over here and talk to us. So she walked over there, and she's like, they said talk to him. And so I walk over there and talk to him for a little bit, ask Jeff about it, and he was like, yeah. He's like, ask me after the show or something. I'm like, okay, cool. And just sort of left it at that. Ended up just sitting there hanging out for a while, and then, like, just with me, my friend, and my friend Karina, which you might meet in a video. I might try to get her in a video. I don't know. And my mom. And we sat there talking with, like, the bartenders, because this wasn't a bar, by the way. And just hanging out, and then Rick from Adelita's Way walks in. I don't know where the rest of the guys were. I did not see any of them enter the building until they got on stage, so I don't know where they were. But Rick walked in. I recognized him. And I just happened to be standing there. I said hi, and he saw my folder that had the questions in it that I had, and I did have questions for him. And he was like, what's that? And I'm like, oh, these are questions. And I'm like, I have some for you. That's all I said. He was like, after the show, let's do it. And I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, after the show. And I'm like, cool, thank you. And I figured he wouldn't remember, but I'll get to that in a minute. And then the show started, Emphatic got on stage, and I was so impressed. Like, we'd heard them doing sound check a little bit, and I was like, they were really good. There was no barricade at this venue, by the way. There was literally just a stage, so I'm leaning on the stage the whole time taking pictures, and was really impressed with Emphatic. Didn't really know a lot of their music because I'd heard of them, and I'd heard a couple of songs, but that was it. Like, I couldn't find much, and you still can't find them overly easily, but you can find them now. Keep in mind, this was 2 years ago. And then, let's see. Oh, I can't remember most of their set list, but I remember thinking it was so good. And then for the last song, which was Bounce, the singer, his name was Patrick. They switched singers. I can't remember the new guy's name, but Patrick was like, okay, so for the last song, I'm thinking, how about we get some girls up here and you can just have a good time. And of course, I'm laying on the stage. I ain't gonna just stand there and be like, I'm not getting up there. So I jump up, and I'll put a link in the description for this because this is on video. And I'm so happy about the fact that somebody got it on video. And apparently my mom saw me and my friend, my 2 friends that were there, go up on stage, and she was texting Dad, you won't believe what your daughter is doing right now. And it was like, it was cool. And you'll see the video. I'm mostly standing there taking pictures, and I took a picture of the drummer before the camera even got turned on. And I just That was the only time. That's the only time I've been on stage with a band, and that was so cool. And afterward, they're all really nice, got their autographs, which are somewhere. I'm not sure where, but they are somewhere. And, just, yeah, they were great people. I enjoyed them a lot, and they were all very enthusiastic, and it was awesome. And then Art of Dying. Note to self, cut that out. And then there was Art of Dying, and I was really, really impressed with them. They were, awesome. Like, I can't remember what they started with. They started with Die Trying, I think. But the main thing I remember actually was, when they did Best I Can, because, like I said, I was leaning on the stage, and then Johnny was standing, like, right in front of me, and he, was kind of, like, getting into a little bit in the first line. He was singing along, so was I, just because, like I said, I think if I didn't say that, then this was, like, my favorite song by them. Still is. And he was singing along, and I was just, like, in the moment singing along, too, and he was singing, and, obviously, considering I just said that 3 times, but he was really into it, and I was really into it, and I was just, like, swaying along, having a good time. He looked so happy that I was happy with this, that I feel like we just had, like, a moment that was really, really cool, and yeah, I thought they did such a good job. I was impressed with the entire set. There was not a single complaint I had. I really want to see them again. That's really all I have to say, is I'm dying to see them again. And yeah, I can't complain. They did nothing I would change, except I'd go back to that night and then have Adam Ganche come out for Raining. They did it, and I mentioned later to Kale, that I kind of half wished that Adam would have been there, and he's like, I'm sorry. I'm like, don't apologize. But yeah, so that's basically the only thing I have to say, is I'd love to see them when they could have Adam, but that's a minor thing, so it's still pretty cool. And then after their set, I got their autographs and all that. Well, walked over. I had bought their CD there because I had not found it in stores yet. Bought it there. And they're all, like, signing it, and then I get to Johnny, and I got pictures. Though I don't think I have a picture with Greg. Can't swear by that. I feel like one of them, I somehow don't have the picture. But, it's funny, I handed it to Johnny, and I guess he remembered me from the stage, like, a few minutes before that, and, he opens it up, and it broke, the case, and he's like, oh my god, I'm sorry, and he's like, I'll get you a new one. He started to reach over and grab it. I'm like, no, that's cool. I'm like, keep it. I'm like, leave it that way. I don't want a new one. He was like, what do you mean? I'm like, for one, the other guy's already signed it. And I'm like, and for two, I can say that you broke my case. I'm like, it's kind of funny. He's like, oh, okay. And Jeff, when he signed it, he remembered me from before anything even started. And he remembered my name. You can't see it on the CD, but he did actually spell my name out correctly out loud. He went Ariel. I'll show you what it looks like on the CD if I can find it. Yeah, see in the corner there? Right there? Well, not the corner, obviously. This one right here? That was Jeff. That does not look like Ariel at all. That looks like Anzel to me. And then the rest of them are their signatures. I actually don't remember whose is whose. I kind of feel bad about that. But I don't have a clue whose is whose. I, like, really don't. But yeah, so I think that's pretty cool. And you can't really tell if the case is broken. It's kind of scratched in spots, and you can't really see that too well on camera. Oh, there you are. It's right up here is, like, loose. I've fixed it since then, but yeah. So that is a little bit of an issue, but that's okay, because it's funny memory. So then, like, they were all chilling, just hanging out, and then Adelita's Way got on stage. And to be perfectly honest, I was not that impressed with them that night, but I have seen them again since then. You'll hear that story eventually. I saw them at Uproar 2012, and that was impressive. They do so much better in a big environment, not the 200 people crowd, whatever, small crowds that don't do good for them. But they didn't do bad. I honestly also didn't know too much about them at the time. The only song I really, really knew at that point was Sick. But I had a lot of fun taking pictures. I got a guitar pick from them. I also got a guitar pick from Emphatic, but I actually don't remember how the hell I got that. I got the Adelita's Way one from their guitarist, who actually just handed it to me. Because there were 2 barrels for some reason right by the stage. It was kind of like a country-themed bar, so it was kind of weird they had a rock band. I don't think I've had any rock bands since. But, they had these 2 barrels, and he decided to stand on them, which was basically right above me, so I was like standing there like kind of between his legs taking pictures. He just reached out and handed me a guitar pick, and I'm like, yay, thank you. And I have no idea how I got the Emphatic one. I don't think anybody handed it to me. I'm pretty sure I just found it, and it was like mine. Or one of my friends found it, I'm not sure. But they did pretty good, like, compared to our dying. No, they really sucked that night, but they didn't do too bad, so I was okay. And afterward, literally, I was standing there and I saw Rick, very, very sweaty Rick, come off the stage, and I'm like, he's not gonna remember. I'm like, if he didn't remember that he said yes he'd do my interview, I'm not gonna remind him. And literally, he saw me and he's like, interview, right? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, come. He was like, come here. And like, we walk over to the bar. He sits down. He's like, ask me some questions before I get distracted. And I'm like, really? He's like, I will get very distracted. He's like, just go ahead and ask me some of your questions now before I do it. And I'm like, okay. He like gets a drink and he's like sitting there, and I asked him a couple of questions, and also that interview will definitely be in the description, as well as the Art of Dying one and the video that I mentioned earlier. And Rick ended up being an interesting person to interview. I had fun with that. Because I asked him like 2-3 questions. He talked to me and a friend of mine, because I asked him about the homeschool valedictorian title, because I'm like, you do realize there's no such thing. And then I mentioned that myself, and my friend Karina that was standing right there were both homeschooled. He thought that was really cool. And then he answered it, and like I said, you can read that all in the interview. But he then was like, you know what, give me a few minutes, I gotta go to the bus, shower, and I'll be right back. And then he was gone probably 10 minutes, came back, saw me, because I was deliberately trying to stay in like the vision of the door so I could see him come back. I'm like, I started this, I'm finishing it now, he doesn't have a choice. And he goes back in, and he's like, okay, puts a hand on my shoulder. And by the way, I will put up a picture of him and I together. I am so fucking short compared to him. I mean, I'm short compared to everybody, but I'll have to like flash that picture up. Like, no. Did you see it? Yeah, I'm tiny compared to him. And he comes over, puts a hand on my shoulder, and he's like, okay, you're going to have to follow me around, and you just do it. He's like, don't feel bad about following me, don't feel bad about interrupting anything, just do it. And I'm like, okay. Sure enough, I had to follow him around for 2 hours trying to get questions answered because he kept getting distracted. It didn't help that he was there with a friend of his from Tampa, and one of the local DJs was an old childhood friend of his, so they were having a good time. It was kind of funny watching them get drunk together because at one point the one DJ decided to pick him up, and Rick is really tall and this guy is not tall. I mean, he's not short, but he's not tall either. And it was awfully funny because it was like I almost got knocked in the head with Rick's head, and I'm just like standing there going, what the hell did I get myself into? And this also, by the way, was about midnight, maybe later. It was about midnight, I think, at night. And obviously it was at night. And one of his friends saw me like sitting there, like kind of shaking my head, like, why? What am I doing? And she's like, hi, what you doing? And I said, I'm trying to interview him. She's like, well, maybe I can help. I've known him for years. And the question, I specifically remember this, I asked her what his favorite song that he'd ever written was. And she answered, I forget what she answered. I wish I could remember what she said, but I can't remember what she said. He heard that. Turns around, he's like, what are you guys talking about? And then I was like, your favorite song that you've ever written. And he's like, what did you say? And she said whatever her answer was. And he was like, wrong, you should know it, it's Alive. And honestly, you could tell when you listen to the song live that it really means a lot to him. And I think that's really cool and incredible, and it's funny that that's how I got the answer for that one. And yeah, like I said, it was about 2 hours of me following him around. So no, it would have been midnight because we left 2:30 in the morning. It was probably 10 o'clock or so. It was probably midnight by the time I finished. But I didn't get, at this point I hadn't finished my Art of Dying questions. I hadn't had time, and then I'm standing there waiting on Jeff. Because I asked him, and he's like, let me get a drink first. I'm like, okay. Then he started talking, and I just felt rude interrupting him. So I'm like, you know what, I'll leave him. I'll find one of the other guys to bug him. And I'm standing there waiting for Johnny, actually, because I couldn't find any of the other ones. No, Tavis was there with somebody. Or was it Greg? It was either Tavis or Greg was there with, like, their girlfriend or wife or something. Someone was clearly there for them only, so I didn't want to interrupt that. Then all of a sudden, Kale comes over and drapes an arm around me. He's like, what you doing? And I'm like, oh, waiting on an interview? And he's like, who you interviewing? I'm like, well, you, I guess. He's like, me? I'm like, yeah, you. And he's like, well, let's go outside so I can hear you, or we'll do this. I'm like, okay, cool. And we're sitting outside. He's sitting there on a picnic table. I'm sitting there next to him, trying to write as quickly as he's talking. And he's in a tank top, and I'm, like, in a hoodie, cold. And right after we finished that, we were still talking. He's like, are you cold? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, shit. He's like, I forgot. He's like, I'm Canadian. I'm used to this kind of weather. It was like 40 degrees, something like that. I guess that's kind of warm for a Canadian person. For Floridians, that's fucking freezing. And he was like, oh, then let's go inside so you can get warm again. But we go inside, and it's like, it's really funny. Because he started hitting on my friend. And I actually was only slightly aware of this, but at one point he asked her to go to the bus with him. I guess I probably shouldn't tell him the story, but I'm going to anyway. And my mom heard her response was, I have a question first. And he was like, what? She's like, what's my name? He didn't know. And he dropped it after that. And he hung out with us. Like, we sat there talking with him for a good 2 hours or so. I remember it was 2:30 when we finally left. But, we were sitting there talking and just having a good time. Okay, so then we were just hanging out, having a good time. And it was so funny. At one point, what was it? Oh, the first time this happened was, Rockstar came on by Nickelback. And it came on over the radio, and, like, everyone in the bar was singing along, like, casually, including Kale. And my friend sort of was singing along. I don't sing. And Kale noticed this, that I wasn't singing along, and he's like, poked me. He's like, sing! And I'm like, no. I'm like, I don't sing. You don't want to hear me sing. And he was like, get this far away from me. He's like, sing! And I'm like, no. And he was like, I can't sing. And he's like, neither can I. I'm like, bullshit! He's like, this sort of gave me a look like, did she just call me out on my bullshit? And I'm like, you sing backup in a band. You can't tell me you can't sing. And he's like, okay, yeah, so that's true. And he's like, but sing! And I'm like, no. He just sort of stared at me, so I finally did a little bit. And it was fun. We were having a good time. At some point, I think it was during that song still, he goes and all of a sudden decides to basically just, like, hump their manager's leg. I don't know why he did it, but it was funny as hell. And, like, TJ, that's their manager, decided to, like, smack his ass at the same time. He walks back over to us. So, like, this, like, yells nothing. I'm like, you're clearly close, and that's cool. But, and then, like, later, Fuck You by, it was CeeLo Green. I always want to say Sleep in the Sirens just because I like that version better. Came on, and we all were just having a good time singing along with that, too. And it was a good time. I can't remember half of what we actually talked about, but we got along really well. It was really fun. And one thing that was really funny, as you guys know, I'm a big fan of Adam from 3 Days Grace. Well, once was 3 Days Grace, Adam Gonche. That's his cousin, Kale. And, I was really impressed by him, and I told him that. I'm like, I've seen Adam live twice. I'm like, I was really impressed by your stage presence, and on top of that, I'm like, he's my idol. And he was like, well, he's my best friend, pretty much. He's like, I talk to him like every night. And he refused to believe that he was just as good as him. And I was like, no. I'm like, you don't understand, Kale. I'm like, you are. And he refused to believe it. My mom told him the same thing. He's like, no. And I'm like, I thought it was cool that he was so humble about it, and that thought it was so cool that I was a fan of Adam and a fan of theirs, and he just was a cool guy. I was really glad that I got to hang out with him. I feel kind of bad that I didn't really talk to the rest of the guys too much. I didn't mean to not talk to them. It's just how it played out. And it was actually really fun. And I talked to some of the guys in Emphatic after that, but it was actually really funny. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention this. I took a picture with Lance from Emphatic, primarily because I thought he was cute. But whatever. And he was sitting there at the bar right next to TJ, and I asked for a picture and started walking away, and TJ is like, Ariel! And I'm like, what, TJ? What do you want? And he's like, you're not gonna take a picture with me? I'm like, oh, okay. I like took a picture with TJ. I'll put both of those pictures up here. Actually, you know what? I'll put all the pictures I took with people here. I'm not bragging. It's just, I've mentioned them. I might as well put them in there, right? Haven't gotten to see Art Dying since then, or Emphatic for that matter, and now that they have the new singer, I actually don't want to see Emphatic again, because I think he was the singer of Fuel, and I wasn't a big Fuel fan. But I'd love to go see Art Dying again. They need to come back to Florida, and they did come to Tampa for my birthday this year. Not for my birthday, but on my birthday. I wanted to go so bad because it was an acoustic tour, but I wasn't able to go. Hope you guys are actually liking these concert videos. I feel really bad doing them. Like, I feel like I'm bragging or something when I'm not. I just, like I said, I think I said this in the first concert video, I barely do them just because, like, people on the page will ask me, you know, various little details about concerts and stuff, and yes, there's gonna be details that I didn't mention, so you're gonna hear them again on the page, but if I tell the whole story again, it takes me like 20 minutes to type it all out, sometimes longer. Like this one, for example, is probably the longest one I've ever made, and I apologize for that. It was just a very eventful night, and I just thought it'd be kind of nice to have them already in video form, where I could be like, here, watch the video, and you can check it out yourself. And I don't know, I just think they're cool, and it's a good way for myself to remember them, even though I have all the pictures and I've written about them various places on the website and my diary and all kinds of things. It's like, I don't know, it's just another way to remember. Hope you guys are actually enjoying them. I'm sorry if you're not. I'm trying to breeze through them as quickly as possible. I know they probably get a little boring, but thank you for watching anyway. I'll talk to you guys later. I love you. Goodbye.